for the remaining live streams, little administrative work, as it were. BK's going, let's get Behance going. Why did that suddenly, oh, that's going, okay, that's good. The Behance is new. I've only done that a couple of times. This is my second time on streaming on Behance. That's coming through on the audio. Boom. So that's kind of cool. Get that and a little of this and a little of that. And we're just going to be doing some recording tonight. Recording lead guitars for my 67th album. Album title is Unfound Paths. Paths? I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. See if I can get this. Which one do I need? That's the one. All right. Let's get my chat set up and my stuff going and my things and stuff and junk. And my chats are a little different today. We lost a website. Livespace is closing down. I'm totally bummed. It was such a cool site. It was a brand new live stream platform, and I was on the very early beta, and it finally went live, and it was just like this super cool thing. And I read the little message. It just cited, finances weren't working for it or whatever. This is not working here or whatever. Get some coffee going, decaf, because I'm boring like that. I have no idea what I'm doing here. This is my first day using my hands, so you'll have to excuse me. I have taken to only keeping my liquids off on a little stool over to the side here, because I've just spilled on my desk and equipment too many freaking times now. It is a bad, set that on the floor, bad policy to spill water on your computer or any kind of liquid, really. That one worked very poorly when I did that. That was about a year ago. I had to reinstall my entire operating system. That was tons of fun. So now I got my water, my decaf coffee, and all of my boring liquids in one place. And I think we're up and running on, so what'll that be? 15 sites now? 15? I think it's 15 right now. I'm using Behance in place of Rumble. I don't know if I'm going to keep streaming on Rumble. It is, as a platform, it's fine, but it's like YouTube for politics. And it is just a cesspool of politic ideas, and I'm like, I'm not into politics, so this is not a place where people are going for music stuff, as near as I can tell. So, not sure that I want to continue to do that one. I just realized here I did not start my. This. There we go. Okay, so that's my recording stuff. We'll get the sheet music showing here. This is what I look at when I'm recording. And so this is my 67th album, Unfound Paths. And really digging the way it's coming out. It's only got 5 songs on it. The 4th song of 5 is an epic length piece. It's 33 minutes, 33 seconds. That was on purpose. It's actually 33 minutes, 33.333 seconds, but that's not going to show up anywhere other than my system. But that is a tribute to Ron Smith, who was a guitar mentor of mine. He passed back in 2017. We will not be hearing any of that particular song today. I'm going to be recording the other songs. I've recorded the rhythm guitars for everything. The rhythms are all taken care of. And so I'm just going to be recording the lead guitars for the remainder of this stuff and seeing where that takes us. And I want my guitar tuner. I use this to tune my guitar. I know it's crazy how I come up with these silly ideas like this. tune all the time when I'm recording because it's quite a bad idea to record out of tune. We will not be hearing this particular sound on the guitar here today. All right. We will be hearing this sound. We're going to be rocking it today. I'm going to want to turn this up a little bit. And when I create my guitar solos, I generally start with some short little motif, which we see right here. This first song is called Ghost of the Crow. And this, not a lot going on with that. Just a quick little thing. And so, sometimes a motif is only 2, 3, 4 notes, something like this. And it's, I've got longer ones up on the third song, The Twofold Path. So my motif is, 4 measures. So there's a big an idea for. Okay, I just got a little thing saying that OBS disconnected. I'm not sure if I gotta check something here. Yeah, okay, sure enough, the whole thing just that sucks. All right, apologies if anyone was watching. Hopefully you'll come back in. But what I'm noticing on this particular little motif here is that the first note, this B note, is in the B chord that's being played. And so the first note is essentially, it doesn't even show up. So I want this intro to the solo to hit a little better. So I need to, I like the motif, but I need a better note. Something like that. So let me get rid of this. Let's experiment here, see if we can come up with something a little bit better. Particular note, I'm in C sharp, okay, C sharp minor. That works a little bit better. So that's actually an E. So that would be the 4, the 11 of the chord. Going to the 5 might make a little better sense. I mean, you can go to any note. The use of the scales for this kind of thing is really just a system of. I'm just realizing I have an alarm set for 8 o'clock. I'm going to shut that off. Because I don't want the alarm interrupting my stuff. Okay. Now, we're clear on that. So you can use any note, but a lot of times if you understand chord construction out of scale construction, then you can use that information advantageously. So chord tones often work well, particularly when you're. I'm not just going to sit and do a solo with nothing but chord tones. But if you understand how the chord tones work, you can use them advantageously. Going from the 4 to the 5 is a nice way to create tension and release within a single chord. That is so true. Yes. And so it's an interesting thing. When you study contrapuntal music, contrapuntal being a fancy word for in the manner of counterpoint, because counterpointal sounds really stupid. So in contrapuntal music, the perfect 4, the interval of a perfect fourth, is a consonance that is treated as a dissonance. And the reason that it's treated as a dissonance is because the perfect 4 is an inversion of a perfect 5. And the brain, your ear, you're much more likely to interpret it as the inversion than as what it is. So if you want a 4 to function in a chord, you're often going to need to put something else in there to kind of force the chord to be what it is. So if I only play a 1 and a 4, you're going to hear it as a 5 and a 1, respectively. Hopefully that made sense. It probably doesn't, because I'm talking about music theory and most people haven't studied it, which is totally fine. But basically, it changes the way you perceive the note. So you're going to have to put like a third in with it. So if you got a 1, 3, and a 4, it's going to force the chord to be where you want to be. If you have the 1, 5, and 4. Now I'm using this as a melody line, so I'm not creating it as a chord. But I think that 4 to 5, and then the 1 to 2, and back to the 1, that's basically what I'm doing. I think that's what we're going to do. So let's modify the sheet music here. So we're going from the E to the F sharp. So I'm going to put this on the F sharp. And because what I'm doing here, when you get that really quick little, that's known as a grace note, or sometimes known as an appoggiature. And so essentially, the note that I'm coming from is subsumed by the note that it's going to. So we'll put this little thing in like that, move it to the correct strings. And I'm always kind of big on making sure I get this stuff right from the get-go, because in the sheet music here, just because if I don't, I'm not gonna remember what I did, because I got so much stuff going on in these albums. So let's get my little glissando line in here. Boom. And then, unfortunately, the way the glissando lines work with the grace notes, I basically, as I go through and modify I'll copy paste these to everywhere it happens, and then I'll have to go through and slide these notes over. This program doesn't do this part as well as it should, in my opinion. So, but I mean, that's, well, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's a $600 program. I wouldn't be able to afford it if I didn't have access to it, through a studio that I'm associated with. For a $600 program, they should get it right. They really should. And they're very proud of the fact that they're a $600 program and available only to a limited number of people. But there's a lot that they've got wrong considering that. It's unfortunate. Stephen on Facebook says, I often go from the 4 to the 6 just to be an imp. Yeah. Well, and there again, the 6. Now, the 6 is interesting in a scale, because the third note of a scale is what determines whether the scale is major or minor. The 6 is an inversion of the 3. So the 6 is essentially, so in this case, we're in C sharp minor. So the 3 is an E, and the 6 is an A. The 6 is as far below the root as the 3 is above it. And because of this reciprocal nature, it has a very kind of a common feel. And so while the 3 determines whether a scale is major or minor, the 6 has a very strong implication of major versus minor. And that's a really important part of what goes on here, that you can give an implication of major versus minor by using the 6. Now, I know Stephen, and he and I have talked music theory many times, and it's a freaking blast. I know he's really into the Dorian mode, where the Dorian mode is a minor scale that uses a major 6 rather than a minor 6. And that makes it a very cool mode, because you have the 3 telling you this is minor, but you've got the 6 giving an almost equally strong implication that in fact it is major. And it really lends to some very cool possibilities with how you create your resolutions in that particular mode. And I don't use the Dorian a ton, but it is a super cool mode. And a mode is for for general purposes, it's essentially synonymous with a scale. You can think of a mode as a type of scale that's a gross oversimplification of what's actually happening. So like right here, I just copy pasted this thing I put in, and it's not quite where it should be, but it's really easy to fix. So we got that. And of course, every time I make a little fix like that, I then save my file, because that will save you a lot of heartache. And I have made that mistake many, many times. So let's get that right here. Make the modification. I think this is in 3 or 4 places in this song. And often my motif will be repeated in various places throughout. Basically, when I come up on the same position, so to speak, the same rhythm figure or whatever, and then I will use that motif. Often, sometimes I will not. Where was I just at? I lost everything. There we go. And this is another kind of weird thing in Sibelius. It's really good about its undo and redo stuff. Like, for example, selection is part of the undo history, which is awesome, because if you go select 10 things and accidentally unselect them all, you can hit Control Z and your selection comes back. But sometimes, that's great, but sometimes it just erases its entire undo history, and you're like, I want to undo this. Oh, there's nothing to undo. I said, yeah, there really is. Steven says, in Dorian mode, the 2 is also a beast. Well, and that makes sense, because the 2 is your Phrygian, and that equates to the 5 of your standard minor mode. So it occupies what could be construed as a dominant position. And so particularly if you were to use the Dorian with a sharp 4, which would be the 4th mode of the harmonic minor, then you're kind of getting a dominant, you were getting a dominant chord there. So that would be that may be what Stephen is referring to is that being a beast, is you are able to use that as like a dominant function chord. And you can use a dominant function chord almost anywhere, but it's good to have a reason to. So yes, I do not disagree with your statement there. And as much as Stephen uses the Dorian mode so much more than I do, he would probably be able to expound different ways of making the 2 a beast in Dorian mode, just because he has so much more experience with it. Okay, I want to pull up my map here. And so this is the A section. Okay, so that is, I've modified that in all 4 places. Cool. All right. And let's come back to the beginning here. And so I'm noticing on some of my more recent work that I am allowing my rhythm guitars to shine a little more than I did on my earlier work. And I really like the way that's working out. So here, the way I'm set up, and this is kind of new, but I'm liking it. The places where I've got these hash marks, the slash notation, that's saying here there will be an improvisational solo. So I've got my motif, and so my solo is only going for 8 measures, 8 measures and a quarter note. And on this one, I've got this, I open up right after the intro, I come into this rhythm here. And it's using that tresillo rhythm. The tresillo is a 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. Oh, from the right spot. It was like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. And so you got this, you could interpret this as not being a tresillo rhythm because it could be like a 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. I still think of it as a tresillo the way I'm playing it. And so I kind of wanted that to just kind of shine. I feel like I've got some very cool rhythms going in this piece. This particular song also was an interesting one. So when I record any kind of guitar work, I will only punch in if there's a rest. So this song, the rhythm guitars do not have a single rest in them. So basically, I had to play, I think it's close to 5 minutes, twice, without making a mistake. And it worked out pretty well. I got it easier than I thought I would, but it's not a simple rhythm. And I got some of like these chords here. That's pretty easy to screw up. Steven says he just sent me some fretboard charts for Dorian chordal harmony. Now that sounds like the most Steven thing that I've ever heard Steven say right there. And I am screwing stuff up. I'm looking forward to seeing those because I know how much he has studied that kind of stuff. And for those who may not know, chordal harmony is in opposition to tertial harmony. So generally, when we build a chord, we build it with the first, the third, and the fifth notes of a scale. And you can use any position in the scale to do that. And so we're building it in thirds. We play the 1 and the 3, that's a third. From the 3 to the 5, that's a third. So when you build chordal harmony, you build in fourths. You play the first note, the fourth note, the seventh note, and then the 10th note, which is the same as the third note. And it has often more of kind of an open sound to it, and particularly good on clean guitars, in my opinion. I don't feel like this often works quite as well for a distorted guitar, but like very cool stuff can come out of chordal harmony. Again, something, being more of a rock and metal guy, I don't do as much chordal harmony. And 1/4, flat 7, flat 3. If you're building, yes, okay. I should specify that the way I've studied music theory is a little different than standard. So the vast majority of my study of music theory, I have centered around minor scales. So what Steven wrote there, 1/4, flat 7, flat 3, is accurate because we generally refer to our intervals off of the major, and the major has a major 7, and when you build chordally, you end up with a minor 7 or a flat 7. The major also has a major 3, and so when you get to that fourth note of the chordal harmony, you end up with a minor 3 or a flat 3. So he is absolutely correct. I did say that incorrectly. Even if that, though, if you were building chordally and diatonically off of an Ionian mode, you could go, which also very cool sound. So you basically would have 1/4, major 7, major 3, and then you could add that in, and you would have the perfect fourth, which would bring us up to the 6 and then the 9. Very cool sounding chord. So there are a variety of ways you could be. So if you're building perfect fourths, then you end up with that flat 7, flat 3, and that is what I initially did play. So Steven is absolutely correct, and I will modify my information to hopefully be a little more accurate. Fun stuff. Thank you, Steven. That was good. I dig it. All right, so let's fiddle around here. Oh, I'm back too far. Let's find a right spot right about there. I usually give myself about a 2 measure lead in. So I'm gonna kind of fiddle with this a couple times before. So here's something. If you are a recording artist what I just said may not be your best bet. This makes much more sense in the analog realm. I need to turn on. Should be good there. I just realized I didn't have my backup YouTube chat in place. Let me fix that. Cool. So what I'm about to do actually makes more sense in an analog realm. In an analog realm, when we were using tape, which I never actually had that experience. My very first album, I bought tape, and the studio was basically in the process of moving to digital, and so we never actually used the tape. So I have not had that experience, but it's not much of a thought process to realize that using tape it's a physical process, not a digital one, and you've got a resource that can be used up. That's important, and it can also be worn out. Tape can absolutely wear out. So when you're doing that, you kind of want to know what you're doing beforehand. In the digital realm, this is both a good thing and a bad thing. In the digital realm, we don't have to worry about that. So I can sit here and do take after take after take. So what I'm going to do is as if I were in an analog studio, I'm going to just practice this. So if it turns out that what I'm about to do is just absolutely perfect and I should have recorded it, too bad. This DAW does not have retrospective recording for audio. It does for MIDI. I could sit and play something on my keyboard and then say, I want that to have been recorded and do it. But it doesn't have that with audio. It doesn't have enough buffer for that. So I'm going to practice this, and no matter how great it turns out, because I'm not recording, too bad. And what I could do is I could just record the practice and then say, okay, I'm now great. I'm just not going to delete that. One of the reasons that I don't do that is that when you act like you're analog, it makes you focus in a different way. Even though I have the capacity to go wherever I want with this, I'm going to act as though it's analog. So when it's time to record, I want to mean it. And also, in my opinion, when you're going to be, even though this is my office and I can just record whenever I want to, when I decide, okay, it's studio time, I want to act like it's studio time. And you should be prepared to play. I've had a lot of instances where I have been working with a musician, recording them, working with them in another studio, and they want the magic take, but they didn't practice enough to get the magic take every time. You should be able to do it whenever. So like I was recording for a couple hours earlier today in between students, and there was several times that I played through something like, oh, that sounded like it was pretty good. Couldn't even listen back to it. But if I do a great one the first time, you know what? I'll just record something a little, because this is going to be improvised. I play the motif, and then I improvise an 8-measure solo, and then cool, maybe I record it, maybe I don't. If I played something I like and I didn't record it, no big deal. That's if you can get to that point as a recording artist, we're like, okay, yeah, that would have been great to record that, but I didn't, no big deal. That's a really good place to be as a recording artist. So this one is not going to be recorded. I'm just going to fiddle around and kind of get a feel for what's going on with the music. Now, in this case, if I really wanted to, hypothetically, I could go back and just listen to the video that we're, because that I'm streaming, but I cannot retrieve that recording from the video. So I think that actually sounded kind of cool. That was pretty good. So, but now it's like, okay, I know what this feels like. I know what I'm going for here. Yeah. So let's see what we come up with. I think I'm going to hit record this time and try this out. Maybe this one will be all right too. Except I'm recording a clean tone guitar. Now I could just pop that up, but yeah, this will sound even better. I'm such a knob sometimes. I totally dig it. That sounded all right. I have saved this, so I've got it. So if my electricity goes out right now, I won't lose it. Wouldn't be a big deal if I did. But I'm gonna listen to this. I'm not sure about that last note. I feel like the rest of it was pretty good. That resolution might have been a little weak, but it might have worked. Let's take a listen. And this, you guys heard this in a way that I didn't. You don't hear your own work correctly when you're doing it. You really kind of got to listen back to know if it was good. Why does the Mixolydian keep creeping into your ears? Maybe it wants to hide because it's shy. I don't know. I put this together in C sharp minor. So let's see. We got. So the B would be mixed. The only thing I could think is that this measure leading into the next section where the solo starts is B. So that would be the root of the Mixolydian, and you're hearing a bit of that. And so it's basically going 7-1 in C sharp minor. And so if you're kind of honing in right here, your ear might be kind of tuning to that 7. I don't use the B again in that. And also notable that it could be honing my ear in on it a little bit and putting me onto some B notes in my solo without me even knowing it. That is entirely possible. So I'm gonna kill that one. I feel I didn't dislike that take, but I do feel like the resolution should have been a little bit different. And that's something that I should probably work on in my solos in general, is getting a better advanced idea of how I want to resolve a phrase before I get there. So let's try it again. So that's the thing, like that one, I did record it and didn't care for it, so delete it. And this, I've had a lot of people ask me, because I have recorded a lot of music, about how to become comfortable in a studio setting. And what I just did is ultimately the key to it. Record stuff and delete it. Get used to deleting your takes, because we're not using tape here. We're good. And it's not going to hurt anything to delete your take. So once you become comfortable with saying, that was good but not good enough, delete, and it just doesn't even bother you, then recording becomes much, much easier, much less stressful. Recording, particularly in the earlier stages of recording, is a very high stress concept. I mean, you really feel like you're on the line. And the great thing is, if a person wants to become a recording artist, you can do so for very, very little money. Get an interface, which you can get for under $200, and it might only be enough to plug in one guitar, but that's all you need. because you can plug in your bass, you can plug in your guitar, you can plug in a microphone and do one thing at a time, and you just kind of start going to town on it. And just delete all the time. Get yourself comfortable with deleting your information. And that's going to be powerful. Like if you're a photographer, you don't want to keep every picture you take. I mean, particularly now, you'll be, again, because of digital technology, you take your camera out and take 1,000 pictures in a day. You know, you can do that in an hour if you wanted to. You know, it's not hard to take tons of pictures, but most of those pictures are going to be throwaways. And sometimes people get so caught up in the idea of this next thing I do has to be the one, it has to be right. And that is not, generally speaking, one of your better ways to look at it. So you proceed with caution. Excuse me. It's a new choking hobby I've got. So proceed with caution about being too cautious. That's kind of where I think I'm going with that. And at this point, you know, I've recorded enough times. There was actually, when I did my 65th album, I was coming on to do a stream just like this one. And this was freaking awesome. I was getting set up for a stream, and I got, and like minutes before I started streaming, I opened up the album and realized all of my guitar recordings had disappeared. To this day, I have no idea what happened. So I get on, I explain this, and there was a few people in, and they were like, oh man, that's terrible. I'm like, you know what, don't worry about it. This is not a big deal for me, because this is my 65th album. And if it had been my first album, that would have been devastating. Even if it had been my fourth or fifth album. But when you're doing it for the 65th time, it's like, whatever, man. I can record an album over. So it just wasn't a big deal. And so, you know, I'm very much at the point where it's whatever, man, I'll just record that over. You know, like yesterday, last night, I was recording a few of these leads for the Epic Length piece, and realized I wanted my guitar input to be a little louder. So I deleted 4 or 5 solo sections, and whatever, let's do them over. Who cares? It's a nice place to be able to get to it. And now I actually realized I didn't really want that pickup anyway. So not that it would have made much of a difference. And that's, we very often get too caught up in the perfection of our tone, the perfection of our playing, and it leads to things like the auto-tune insanity that goes on in so much music now, which is very, I mean, they've auto-tuned Billy Joel. Billy Joel doesn't need to be auto-tuned. Aretha Franklin, I've heard auto-tuned Aretha Franklin. Don't auto-tune Aretha. She was great as she was. Anyway, let's try this again, see what we get here. Nah, I definitely screwed that one up. That one I don't even got to listen to. I just know that I got it wrong. That might be I threw a little sharp 6 in there. Got a little bit of a Dorian feel in part of that. See how this works. I'll take that. That works. Now, something I like to do also is just right away come in and do the editing and get that part. You know, why is this not? Well, that's weird. What if I should be able to make an adjustment to this. There we go. Okay, now we got it. Just get, because if you do all of your takes and then you go in and do your editing all at once, it's so boring. So actually I'm going to make this a lot bigger. So zoom in. Put a little fade on there. Bring it up to the end. Put a little fade out on that one. Make sure my fade out is... Totally deal with that. Cool. So let's find my next section here. Now, one thing I want to look at. Okay, I'm back. I did the wrong thing. I meant to do this here. So I'm just thinking, I've got, on this A section, I've got this motif put in each time I start this section. And I wonder if these might be a little too close together to repeat that motif. I think it'll be fine. I think it should work out all right. Let's listen to it and see. Steven says, I think there's a big difference between playing notes and telling your story. That is so totally true. And, you know, my earlier albums were much more just kind of shredding. And I feel like over, you know, the course of my later albums, I have started to move away. I still like to play fast, but I feel like I'm trying to do what might be considered a little more mature type of a work, where even though it's not lyric, still, if you can sing a guitar solo, you probably have a guitar solo that more people are going to relate to. And, you know, this song is called The Ghost of the Crow. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have to be about that. It's just a title. But yeah, it's like, okay, can I get the feeling of The Ghost of a Crow? Sometimes my songs really match their title. Sometimes they really don't. Like there's a song on, I forget which album it's on, but the song is called The Long Way Home. And it is, without a doubt, my most inaptly named song. And then I got a song like off of my 53rd album, I think. There's a song called After Hours in the Blackwood Mortuary. And that one, I nailed it. It feels like you are after hours in the Blackwood Mortuary when you listen to that song. I mean, that title totally fits the music. So sometimes it's really good. I feel like this I can see this one being The Ghost of a Crow. It's a little more of an upbeat crow. The next song on here, song 2, is called The Sojourner. And I feel like this one kind of has the right kind of feel for that. You know, a sojourner is someone who's on a journey. And I feel like this feel kind of works with the title pretty well. Overall, I feel like this album, the titles fit pretty well the music that I am creating here. So, also a fun fact, in The Sojourner, I used what is known as a Neapolitan sixth. Right in this area. So this C chord here, this is a Neapolitan sixth. And a Neapolitan sixth, the concept is when you are in a minor mode and then you flat the 2 to create a major chord. And most commonly, that is used in the second inversion, which is exactly how I did a textbook example of it here. It sounds really cool. With that C major chord, I'm really pleased with that. It's not a concept I've used a ton of times, but I do really like the Neapolitan sixth concept. All right. So we're just gonna blast a bit of a solo in here. And we're gonna listen to these solos back to back and see if we feel like this motif should happen twice in a row. And if it doesn't fit, we use that lovely little delete button and just do it over. Not sure about that double pinch harmonic, 2 pinch harmonics I did in a row. Let's listen to this in context. Except that totally works. Yeah, I'll keep that. I dig that. And this is something too where technically the second to last note there was a mistake. I didn't nail that pinch harmonic. And it's very compelling as a recording artist to go through and be like, I can just punch in that one note. And that's what I was talking about earlier. I don't punch in unless there's a natural rest. So for me, I'll do this section over, but I won't do a section of this section. And it's so easy. If I wanted to, it'd be so easy to do it. And it's my personal rule. I don't frown upon those who punch in. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't personally do it. So it's very compelling to go through and be, okay, let me correct that. I can fix that. And there's nothing wrong with fixing it, but one thing you hear a lot from experienced engineers and producers particularly is they say, don't fix all of your mistakes. And I strongly agree with the sentiment of don't fix all of your mistakes. Let some of them sit in there. Let it be human. As Stephen pointed out, there's a difference between playing notes and telling your story. Stories are imperfect, and stories are often about imperfections. I mean, look at some of the great stories. The Lord of the Rings. This is not about Frodo's perfection. This is about all the mistakes he made on the way to getting the ring into the fires of Mount Doom. It was all about the mistakes. Gandalf was nothing but mistakes. I mean, is there more than one book? There should be more than one book in the world. I feel like there's more than one book. I'm just totally drawing a blank on other great books. I just read the Brothers Karamazov. That's a classic and very well written book. And again, it's all about human imperfection. And all of in the end, the brother Ivan who was tried and accused of murder did not commit the murder. He made all kinds of mistakes leading up to it that made the public and the jury think he was the murderer. The jury made the mistake of thinking he was the murderer when he really wasn't. It was all about the mistakes. So the story here to it is don't go perfect every little detail of your music. Go ahead and let there be some imperfections in there. And I even do this in the composition process. Be like, oh, I meant to put a kick drum there, but I actually put a snare. Oh, let's just leave the snare there. Not a big deal. We can work with this. And sometimes really great ideas branch out of those little mistakes that you make. So those last two sections of solo have been over the exact same musical concept. And here we have this slowdown going on. Solo starts here. Just a little 4-measure section. And so yeah, that one, I don't even need to practice that. Let's just pop that in. Back, I'm good. Yeah, that works. So again, I don't know why this is not interesting. I've not run into that before, where it kind of refuses to adjust properly its position. Let's get the editing part done, and then I won't have to worry about it. And I've done plenty of times where I wait and do all the editing all at the end, and it's just it's not hard. It's just kind of boring. So if I get it done in these little increments here, probably a little better idea. Okay, so now we have a new section here. Just another 4 measures. And here I'm kind of feeling like in a case like this, I might want to, in my solo, where I've got these held chords, I might want to kind of mimic the rhythmic concept that's happening here and just hold some notes there. So this is what I'm definitely going to do a little experimentation with beforehand. Let's see what's. I'm not going to record this yet. Probably should have recorded that. But I didn't, so let's see what I come up with this time. No, not even gonna finish that one. That's all right. Yeah, I like that. I can get down with that one. Let's jump in here and do our edits. Super excitement. And really all we're doing with these edits, again, for anyone who maybe hasn't worked with this kind of stuff, there's usually a bit of noise before you actually start playing, just from maybe turning up your volume knob or touching your strings a little bit. So we're just getting rid of that extraneous noise. And it's very, very easy, fortunately, to get rid of that noise. Back in the days of tape, that was a lot more entailed, and you had to be much more cautious of your recordings. So this is something where, earlier I was talking about how it's good to kind of work as if you are in an analog studio, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't take advantage of the digital arena that we're in. You absolutely should be taking advantage of that digital arena and using the things that make it really, really easy to do things like cleaning up your mix. All right, so now we're back to the A section. So we already have done a bunch of this. And I kind of enjoy, I shouldn't say I kind of enjoy, I definitely enjoy kind of, we started back here with this first one, and the song goes to the end of this little knobby area here. And just kind of watching this fill in. It's like a little ticker that's moving us along toward the end of the piece. So where are we at here? All right. Don't need to practice this. Let's just see what we come up with. I thought I recorded that. I was totally digging that one. I thought I recorded. So to record, I hit the R key. To play, I hit the space key. I thought I hit the R key. And I was like, oh, I totally am digging this. And it does not matter. So let's try that again. So that was practice. I can do a little better than that. And some people may have noticed, my motif is, and I didn't play that exactly. On this one I went, and so I changed one of the notes of the motif. So even though the motif is composed, it's written out in advance, I don't necessarily have to consider that a written in stone kind of a thing. It's an idea. And sometimes when I'm live, I will have this same basic sheet music. I modify it a little bit so some of the instruments don't show and some of the stabs are bigger because I'll be standing further back. But basically I'm looking at the same idea. And I might decide I'm not going to play the motif this time live. I'll just skip. Or sometimes I'm not paying enough attention and I'll be playing. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize I was supposed to play the motif there. So the motifs, yeah, the not set in stone. The rhythm guitars, much more set in stone, particularly because I do play them twice. I double track the rhythm guitars. So if I go off on a tangent, then if I don't remember what my tangent was, it will sound wrong in the recording. So since I'm double tracking the rhythm guitars, I pretty much play note for note what's there. Certain mistakes I will accept, and I kind of know what will meld. So yeah, it still don't have to be perfect, but much more set in stone than even my motifs are. So let's see what we can do with this. We're honing in here. That one I think I like better. Yeah, so this time I ended on the 2 or the 9 of the scale. The last time I ended on the 5. And the 5 is very congruent. In fact, the 5 will be the root of the last chord of that phrase. But that 9, so we're playing the 9 of the scale, which would be, I guess, the 5 of the ending chord. That I was digging much better. That I liked. So that's cool, and we are saved. And let's edit. Super excitement time. I'm still not sure why I have to unselect that item. That didn't used to be the case, as far as I know. I was editing these all day earlier, or while I was recording, not all day. But that's weird. But sometimes you just deal with it. Working it, digging it. Okay, we've got another section coming up right here. Basically a repeat of the same section again. Just checking my chat. So it looks like I got a whole bunch of people coming in over on Nemo TV. Welcome everybody, wherever you're coming in from. Thank you so much for being here. I am streaming out to 14 or 15 sites right now. So wherever you're tuning in from, thank you very much. If you're new to what we do here, I am the Mad Poet. You are an audience. We are the Mad Poet Society. And this is not necessarily my normal style of stream. More often I'm doing more of a concert style performance. And there will be a performance of this album coming up before long now. I'm honing in on the end of this. But yeah, wherever you're coming in from, thank you very much for being here. I always appreciate people watching and being a part. If you like to chat. If you like to watch, or whatever, it's all good. We're just what we're doing right now is recording the lead guitars for my 67th album. The album is titled Unfound Paths, and the song we're currently working on, the first song of the album, is called The Ghost of the Crow. A song which title could also have fit very well on my 11th album, I think it was, which was called The Croaking Blackbird Mystery. Okay, so here I'm seeing that we've got this break one section. We did this earlier. That was the one where I was kind of holding the notes longer, kind of matching the rhythm. So it's good that I note what I'm coming up on and say, okay, I'm kind of going to be changing feel at that point, and this is a slightly longer recording, and these even like a little 12 measure section like this is a very short recording on Asymmic Writings Part 2, which is my 34th album. The Asymmic Writings are the album always has exactly one song that's exactly 52 minutes 25 seconds long, and on Part 2, my 34th album, there's a section on there where I played a non-stop take for about 28 minutes. That was a long freaking take, and that was one where not a single punch in. I was recording kind of some different production techniques at that point, and I think I did probably 5 or 6 takes on that. And only the last one went all the way through. I would get a few minutes in, 10 minutes in, be like, no, gotta change that. That was an interesting bit. Yeah, 28 nonstop minute recording, and I'm pleased with it. It's pretty cool stuff. The Asymmic Writings they kind of have a special place in my heart. So this is my 67th album. My 68th album will be the 4th installment of Asymmic Writings. And it will again be one song that's 52:25. Almost finished with the composition of that, and I'll still need to fill in some orchestration and stuff on it. But looking forward to that one. So yeah, so like on this album, I do have that song that's 33 minutes 33 seconds long that we will not be hearing today. We'll be hearing no part of that until I play it live for the first time. So that song currently is my 5th longest, because I have the 3 Asymmic Writings and Permanent Cognitive Damage category. My 63rd album is 44 minutes 22 seconds. So as of my album following this one, that will become my 6th longest song, and I just think that's awesome. All right, so I think I'm not going to do a practice on this. Let's just hit record, see what happens. So that's interesting. I ended that on the 7. Let's see how that works. This might be okay. Ending on the 7 was fine, but there were a couple of sour spots in there I'm going to call unacceptable. Unacceptable! Let's try this again, shall we, kids? I need to make sure that we are still in tune. I know we're close, but I check my tuning pretty often when I'm doing this stuff. None of those were off far enough to be significant, but being in tune is a very, very good idea. Okay, let's hit this again. Let's see what we come up with here, kids. I like the idea, missed a bit there. That last note might have been sour. I'm keeping it. Keeping it. That's all right. Super exciting editing time. And that actually might be the last solo for this song. I feel like there might be one more section coming up, but I'm not sure. Let's get the map. No, we got one little section right here. There's a bit of a rhythm guitar section. And then, now this is something too, like for people out there who are working on production or learning to write guitar-based songs or whatever. So this section here, when I wrote the sheet music, I put a note in here to go to a light distortion. And so this was originally the idea was it would be kind of like that. And when I put it in, it just didn't work. So I ended up going with the full distortion on it. And when it's just a guitar, it works fine either way. But in context, I was not digging it at all. So let's listen to this. It came out, I'm really pleased with it. And like Steven was mentioning earlier, it's more important to tell the story than to just play notes. And so this is where, like, I feel like, if your lead guitar is maybe a narrator, this is where you're letting the characters tell the story through their actions or whatever. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but that's kind of how I thought of it. And so this is just that kind of slower section again. Yeah, this should be quick and easy. Okay. Let's see if letting that note ring out over the next section works. Oh, again, that's one of those times when I would have had to hit the record button for it to work, so it really doesn't matter. Let's try that again. That again. I like the note ringing out. I don't like the other notes that I played. And the volume on the guitar also needs to be turned up. I'm learning so much about how to make music today. No. No, I ain't gotta listen to the rest of that. I don't like that opening note. I like the idea, but I think that a half-step ghost bend. A ghost bend is when you bend in advance and just bring it down like that. So a bend is moving the string, basically. I think maybe if I was to move it and do a half-step ghost bend from the 3 down to the 2. Let's try that. I'm not as good as at half-step ghost bends. Yeah. Cool. And that's one song in the bank right there, baby. That's done. Like, this is another thing. Like, a lot of musicians these days will go in and be like, oh, we started, not right on the line. Let's modify it. And they'll go in and they'll take every single note and modify it right to the line. I'm like, I ain't gonna do that crap. That's part of me right there. That's part of my style. And as an artist of any kind, you kind of have to decide what level are you going to work to. There is nothing inherently wrong with auto-tuning vocals. I personally don't care for it. That doesn't mean other people shouldn't do it. There's nothing inherently wrong with perfecting your take. Again, I'm not going to. I don't have to. You can if you want. So that's one song right there. Ooh. I like it. A lot going on with that. There's actually a lot less going on with this than some of the other songs. This does not have anything beyond the basic rock ensemble. So on some of my other songs, basically songs 3, 4, and 5 on this have this orchestration and synth stuff going on. So this is all here, synths in the kind of light, the pink, purple looking color, and all these blue tracks down here are strings, organ, and piano. Strings, organ, piano, and harpsichord. Only a little bit of harpsichord right on the very last song. And I think I'm actually going to jump up to there. I think I'm going to work on song 5, which is a very light song. On this song, I kind of wanted to explore working with the juxtaposition of piano and harpsichord. I'm pretty pleased with the way it came out. Let's just modify some positions here. So these regions that I'm using up above here, these determine where the start and stop points of each song are. And this is a much more common thing these days. This used to be very uncommon. So I've got all of my songs. This is an entire album worth of work in a single file of my recording program, Reaper. And so it's really great for the sake of consistency to do it this way, because the guitar, once I process the guitars for one song, the guitars are processed for all the songs, and ditto for drums, strings, synths, pianos, whatever. And so if you want your one album to sound like a cohesive project, this is a very good way to do it. Again, back in the analog days, this was pretty unrealistic to do an album this way because tape just didn't have enough room on it. So you would usually do one song and mix that, and that's where the mastering was much more complex, because you didn't usually get your songs to have this level of consistency. And also notable here, these instruments. So when we look at the guitars, you see these waveforms here, and on these down here, you see all these little blocky things. These are MIDI instruments. So, for example, I don't have a harpsichord. But I can still make a program. I can program the notes of a harpsichord and have it play back, which is awesome. And so, in this one, it's just piano and harpsichord. Most of the complexity here is in Rain Over Nowhere, the tribute to Ron Smith. And this has piano, strings, organs, synths. No harpsichord in that one. I think the only place I use harpsichord is on this last track. The last track is, like the album titled, Unfound Paths. And yeah, like I said, it's kind of playing with that juxtaposition of piano and harpsichord. And they work well together. Like when those pianos kind of poke in like that, that's really cool. This one, I'm going to want a pretty light bit of guitar soloing going on here. Because this is one, if you try to shred over this, it's just so out of context. And this can be a really difficult thing particularly for guitar players, because we like to play and show off and play fast and look how great I am. But if you do that over a piece like this, it's so inappropriate for everything else in this song. And so here, I've kind of set up my motif to align with that. So this motif is... Let's see what's going on here. Nope. It helps if I know what key I'm in. We're in B minor here. I still had C sharp minor in my brain, and that does not work. Those do not coincide that way. After the motif would start again. Okay. All right. I think I need to calm down a little bit from what I did there. I need to go a little more sparse on this one. Let's practice it again. Wrong key. Getting closer there. That's closer to the right idea. Still missing my key on that. For some reason, I'm getting here. And I'm not even seeing a C sharp minor, but I'm certainly not seeing a B minor here. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm not sure what it is there that on the 2 and 3. For some reason, I'm no longer seeing a B minor properly. And my brain is like, hey man, you can play any note you want now. You don't need no freaking key, man. You can get in any door. And that's just not true. I want to point out there is nothing wrong with playing notes that are out of key. And in many cases it's desirable. And like earlier I was mentioning that I threw in a sharp 6 in The Ghost of the Crow and give it a little bit of a Dorian feel. And but the notes that I'm throwing in right now just sound bad. So you need to know why you're using a note out of key. You don't need to. It's beneficial to, in my own personal opinion. Let's get back up here and tune this crazy guitar. We're pretty much in tune. Let's check it out. Oh, slightly. I don't know. That one's fine. Okay. Looking good. Looking good. Let's try this out. Let's see what we end up coming up with for our nice slow lead guitar here. See if I can remember what key I'm in. That was bad. Right there, for some reason, I'm playing a major 3 there. This is not going to work, little Randy. You are wrong at this. I'm not sure why my brain is saying, "Hey, just play this note." And particularly like that one, if I were to use that note in this context, I've just played the 2 and then the minor 3. Then to play a major 3 is giving consecutive half steps, which can be really cool in places. This is not amongst those places, in, again, my own personal opinion. So this is a bad place for consecutive half steps with what I'm doing here. Last note might need to fade a little bit shorter, but that's easy to do in post. That. Bigger eyes this sucker. Zoom in. Super exciting edit time. Actually, I don't think that fade out was too long. I think that actually kind of worked out all right. So I'm going to leave that. Okay, what's coming up next here? I think we've only got 2 little sections of solos on this. Okay, yeah, I've got this section where the motif is in the middle. Okay, so what happens here? I'm not sure quite what I want to do over this staccato 8th note section here. Oops, started at the wrong spot. Let me try something like that. That's a possibility. Oops. Do not want to do that. If I hit the R button in the sheet music program, it repeats whatever is highlighted. If I hit the R button in the recording program, it records. Got to make sure I'm using the right program. No. Might be okay. Little key change at the end there. Basically, what I did at the end for the outro section, I did a key change, so I go down a half step, so from B minor to B flat minor, and then I swapped the roles of the piano and the harpsichord. So it started out with harpsichord, and piano was kind of supporting it, and now it's piano with harpsichord supporting it. So the exact same thing, just swapped instruments and dropped down a half step. So let's listen here and see how this lead sounds. Yeah, too busy. Definitely too busy here. Secondary dominant leading up to that key change works pretty solidly there. Digging that. But yeah, that is. I felt like I wanted to do some slightly quicker staccato stuff over those staccato eights, but that did not pan out. I'm gonna experiment here. We're not gonna record. Let's try this. Let's try this out. Maybe. closer. We're getting closer on this, but that still ain't quite it. It's one of those where I just got to sit there and keep doing it and see what I come up with. Right away, I don't like that. That might have been all right. Actually, not sure if I dig the staccato notes at all. I may just have to kill that. Yeah, I think that's not bad, but I don't think the staccato notes are working. And that's again, like I was talking about earlier, for people who want to get better at recording, I was talking about the willingness to delete your take. You also have to have a willingness, and this is harder. You have to be willing to delete your idea. And something I've seen many times, and I've absolutely been guilty of it myself, is I came up with this idea, so I want my idea to work. But sometimes it's just the wrong idea. And in that case, you gotta give up on it. You gotta be like, no, that was the wrong idea, so I'm not gonna do it. And that is, in my opinion, for most people, harder to do than to delete a take that you did, because the idea is even more personal than that. So it's kind of a, yeah, how do you decide that your own idea is not that great? It's a good skill to have available. So I kind of really wanted to match the staccato nature of the rhythm guitars here by putting a little bit of a staccato nature into the lead guitars. And every time I record it and listen back, I'm like, no, that's not working. So we'll move forward because my idea was garbage. So there's a way to look at it. You throw out the garbage. That would have been decent if I hadn't let those strings start ringing out. And you sometimes hear people who don't like hard rock, heavy metal style music will kind of put down metal guitar players, rock guitar players for using distortion, saying that it covers up all the mistakes you make. And that is so far away from true. Because I let my hand come up off of the strings that shouldn't be ringing, And that caused them to ring. The action of just moving my hand was enough to activate those strings, and that comes through, and that sound makes it very unclean, made an unclean take. So yeah, it does not make guitar playing easier by a long shot. Not sure here. Let's take a listen. Move these down to this amp. This is another great thing about digital recording, is you can just change around what amplifier you're using. And you know, if I had recorded through an actual physical amplifier, I'm kind of stuck with that sound. But now I can just sit here and just decide, hey, I want less distortion. I want to go through a different amp. And I can just do that. Good. I want to listen to this with this amp. It's panned right now, but that might actually be a thing. And I need a pan envelope on here so I can put this up the middle. Oh, I'm gonna need to, okay, what do I gotta do? Okay, we're at 70 right. Okay, so I gotta move the stuff before it to 70 right. And, hey, Finn, coming in from YouTube. How's it going, guy? You know, just making some music here, doing that thing. It's the kind of guy that I am, you know? Finn is a student of mine. We just did a lesson earlier today, a really good lesson. He's definitely a fairly advanced student. He's done some recordings of his own, written some songs, and so it's cool. I like working with students of all levels. I enjoy teaching dead beginners and intermediate, advanced, but there is something really cool when I get into much more advanced students and we get to talk about things. You know, we get to work on like the philosophy of music, and we get into really cool stuff. So that kind of stuff is very fun for me when I get into the really advanced stuff. And we were doing some pretty cool, had some pretty cool discussions today. Okay, let's take a listen to this again. I want to listen to that first solo on this song. Oh, wait, no, I've still got... Now I need to center the track. There we go. Slightly off to the sides, because right now with this lightly distorted rhythm guitar, I usually just do one where I double track my heavily distorted rhythm guitars. I usually just do one of these. So now I've basically got my rhythm guitar and my lead guitar both right up the center. So they're occupying the same sonic space. So this is where we just take each of these and move them just a bit out of each other's way. We're talking like, like 5 and then -5 on the other one. Doesn't even really matter which one's which. Just move them slightly out of the way of each other. A little bit of clarity there. I'm actually going to try something. I'm going to make a copy of these. I'm going to mute these ones down here. And I like the backed off distortion, but that particular amp I'm using, it's really not so much the amp as your selection of speakers is a really big thing. But the amp sims do definitely, they're designed to have their own sonic signature. I think in this case, I might be a little bit better off just using the same amp with less distortion. So what I'll do here is go into my envelopes, put on an envelope for my amp sim. I use the Anvil amp by Ignite Amps. And I'm on the lead channel. So we'll put that in. And then we'll just simply knock this down. Something like that. And I will also need a pan envelope. Oh, I need it on the correct track actually. Put a pan envelope on here because I still have the same condition where I have two guitars occupying the same sonic space. And so just move these slightly out of the way of one another. See, this is great because I can sit here now and I can just A/B test these sounds. By switching from one to the other. Yeah, I don't think I like the fuzz of this for this particular thing. Back in Rain Over Nowhere, which again, I'm not going to play anything from Rain Over Nowhere here tonight. That fuzz sound was really, really solid for this. I've got these guitars kind of moving back and forth, intentionally panned out to different speakers with this lighter distortion. And you can see here I've got an even further backed off distortion on those particular guitars. So yeah, for certain places that sound is really good. And back here on the Twofold Path, I've got the same rhythm guitars sound going. That we have up here in Unfound Paths. So, but yeah, I think in this case, I am not liking that particular amp sim. This is the Lextac amp by Lapue, and this was a series of free amp sims he put out years ago, and they're still really, really good. and I use them occasionally for a few different sounds. And as old as they are, you'd think that the new stuff is just like beats it to crap, but no, those are still really solid amp sims. So I think I might even take this. Let's go a little less on the distortion. Oh, that was not it. That was not it. What am I looking for here? Gotta look at the actual number I'm typing in. Okay. 0.25. There we go. And this is great too, the way this is set up, that when I play this live, I won't have to worry about switching any sounds. This will all happen automatically. So the automation that's in here will still be applicable when I'm playing it live. And that's great. I don't think I've actually listened to this whole take yet, because I was sitting here fiddling around with my sounds. Let's see what this sounds like. Works. Let's edit this. Edit the front. And that song's done. That's 2 songs. Let's go back to so I've done songs 1 and 5. Let's try 2 here. This is called The Sojourner. Let's set our start point here. Generally, when I'm doing the initial recordings for the rhythm guitars, they usually start right at the beginning of the song. Certainly some exceptions to that. And so I will give myself a 1 measure count in, because you just can't hit record and start immediately. So I'll have a click track going. I don't think, the click track doesn't actually come through to you guys, but have a little click track going there so I can count myself in. It makes it much, much easier in life to do that. So now we can bring these in and get closer to where the song should start. We'll zoom way in on this. And right there will be a good start point. Boom. So now, when we start it, it'll just go straight in. Okay, yeah. So here again, we were talking earlier about the kind of nature of the motifs that I create, where it might be just a few notes, might be a couple measures, might be 4 measures. So this one's a short little thing, and here, it's cool what you can do when you experiment with just playing with a couple of notes. Because I'm going 2, 4, 2, and then hitting the 2 and going back up to the 4 with a little grace note. So when I slide from 2 to 4, that's going to sound different than if I just pick 2 and then 4. And if I do that little grace note, that's going to just, again, it's a little different feel. So this isn't just going back and forth between 2 notes. This is, as Stephen pointed out, we're not just playing notes. This is part of telling the story. So that's our little motif right there. Nothing crazy going on. But even that little thing kind of sets up where you might want to go with your motif. Oh, this back here, this is my charts for fingering for piano. I've been learning to play piano on this awesome keyboard I've got. And for the way that my brain works, these kind of charts are exactly what I need. Oh, we got someone coming in on D. I don't get people on D Live very often. Osrelel, apologies if I've got your name wrong. And I don't know how long ago your message went up, but thank you very much for the lemon. For those who aren't familiar with D Live, lemons are a type of tipping system. And thanks for the follow over on D Live. Like I said, I don't get very many people on D Live. So that's great to see. And as I said earlier, wherever you're tuning in from, thank you very much for being here. I'm streaming out to 14 or 15 websites right now and enjoying every minute of it. For those who are a little new to what we're doing, we are doing recordings of my 67th album. This album is called Unfound Paths. I'm getting pretty close to having it done. These are the final recordings, just the lead guitars. And also for those who might be a little bit new to what we're doing here, this is not my usual style of playing, of streaming. I am much more likely to do a concert style stream. But today we're doing recordings and seeing how bad I can screw stuff up. And I've screwed up a few of them already. I've done a lot more takes than I've kept. That's for sure. That's pretty normal in recording. To do a lot more throwaway stuff than keepers. Okay, so the Soldiers. So this is a very upbeat piece. So I got this quick little motif that moves us in the right direction. Let's see what, I'm just going to practice this. Looks like we've got about a 16 measure solo where the motif occurs twice. I missed that second motif. That's not uncommon at all. That feels like about the right kind of feel that we're probably going for there. So let's try this out. Let's make sure we're in tune. Pretty sure we're in reasonable shape with the tuning. A little off there. Good to check. Okay. Yeah, let's try it. No, I hit that. I missed that right out of the gate. let's listen to this. That might be okay. Might suck. Who knows? Yeah, I'll keep that. I will reiterate here that I am saving my work a lot because it's insane not to. When I was doing my first album up at Riverside Studios in Granite Falls, Washington, I was working up there late at night because I could. And I'd been working on the song Mental Floss for about 4 hours. Did not save a single time. And then the power went out. Just for a few seconds, but that's all it takes. That's all you get, baby. And that was just gone. 4 hours of work down the drain. I have not repeated that mistake since then. And I intend to continue to not repeat that mistake, hopefully, ever again, because that wasn't very fun. You know, you think of things that are like really fun, like, you know, like movie nights, you know, eating pizza with friends. This was very unlike those things. So I learned my lesson and learned how to save my files. Much better policy. In my own personal opinion. You guys got to do your own thing. You got to make your own decisions about what you want to do. Now, I don't want to say that I've never screwed anything up since then. That's certainly not the case. But I learned my lesson about saving my files often. So that is something I definitely do. So we basically got the same kind of idea there. Okay. Well, let's hit this. See if we can get this thing rolling. Alrighty then. There's an Amber Alert in Washington State. If you're in Washington State, you all probably just got the Amber Alert as well. All right. That might have been okay. I realized as I was playing that, as I was coming up on it, I'm like, I don't like this. I was up in this area. I knew the motif was coming up. I was way up here. And I was like, I don't really feel the idea of going back down to the motif. So I played the motif, I just played it an octave higher. Instead of... Let's give this a listen. That. Still not quite clear on why these edits aren't the movement of the track is not working while it's initially selected. That's different than what I'm accustomed to, but we're working around it. Easy peasy. So I feel like at that point where I went up the octave, the motif is essentially unnoticeable at that point, but it doesn't really matter. I think that the motif hitting in the center of this one is fairly unnoticeable anyway. So, okay, what's coming up next? Oh yeah, this particular bit of song has kind of stuck in my head a bit. Oh. Those chords are really working for me. And this, oftentimes when we play heavy metal, we use what are known as power chords, which is kind of it's a partial chord. The three, the part that makes it major or minor, is taken out. So your chord is the 1, the 3, and the 5. So in a power chord, you only play the 1 and 5. Here, I'm playing the 1 and 3. And so it's a little more colorful kind of a chord. You need to use a little bit of caution in how you approach using chords like that. Was there a note in? I don't want to know. Oh, yeah, I don't want that. I'm always worried when my sheet music needs to be saved because it means I probably screwed something up in it. It wouldn't damage my album at all, but I've kind of got a thing for my sheet music being accurate. So let's see, we got a... Oh, okay, so we moved. So this is going to be a longer recording. Oh, wow, this solo goes on for... This is the longest one I've got on here. This goes for a while, good long while. Okay. Intriguing. This is a good chunk of non-stop. So now even at this, I may choose somewhere in here to put a pause in intentionally, and it might be like right before a motif, or right before any new section. So I've got like this. The B section is kind of the main riff. Maybe a little before this D section, I might drop a note off in here, and that putting a little bit of pause in there, it's kind of like punctuation. Like when I'm speaking, I'm not just saying every syllable at the same time frame. It doesn't work well like that. And so putting a bit of punctuation into what you're saying, put a little pause in the middle of your sentence. Maybe you pause right at the end of your sentence and then move forward. That's how communication works. So going back to like what Steven said, we're not just playing notes. We're trying to tell a bit of a story here. And so this may not end up being one full thing. I may break this up into some parts here. There's a lot going on with this. I'm just going to play through this and see what's going on with these various sections. not sure on this. I may want to give this one a little bit of thought before I go full on recording mode with this. I think I might draw this stream to a close here. I'm gonna think about this because I'm really not sure quite where I want to go on this bit of the song, how I want to break this solo up. I don't feel like this section calls for, we're basically looking at 16, 32, 64 measures, might even be more than that, might be 72 measures of just non-stop soloing. I feel like might not be what this part of the song is calling for. So I might take a section of this and drop it. I'm gonna have to give this a little thought. I don't feel like going straight through was really quite appropriate. And as I said at the beginning of the stream, a lot of this, I'm kind of creating these songs in such a way that I want the rhythm guitars to shine a little more. And certainly the lead guitar needs to have its spot, but this might be a little too much just straight through. And it might actually be not a bad idea, like to take out like one of these B sections. Because that's, the main riff. And so take the solo out of there and let the rhythm guitar just shine through on that. That might be kind of what ends up going on. I'm not sure yet. There's a few ideas that are kind of rolling around my brain. But this one, I feel like if I were just, because I could just sit and record something like what I just did. But I feel like that would almost do a little bit of a disservice to this song. Yeah. I'll tell you, it's the fault of the kids with all their rock and roll music. That's the problem these days. Kids. Who needs them? In fact, this C section, which I just really enjoy saying, this may not need a solo at all. Even though it's sparse, that sparseness almost feels like it's called for at this point. Let those major and minor thirds do their thing. Yeah, I may pull that solo entirely from the spot. In fact, yeah, I'm gonna call that a thing. I'm pulling that. And I think that I may like do this and then actually pull this second half of the solo here. I'm going to commit to that also. And then we'll fiddle with the D section there. And even that's pretty long of its own accord. But that might work more like, yeah. I'm gonna commit to those two parts of it. Cause yeah, I like these chords here. This time it jumps around like that. Yeah, I don't want to solo over that. I'm gonna leave that as is. I'm gonna play it from here. And just see how it feels when I do that first half of the B section solo and then let the next half play as rhythm guitars. Yeah, that's working for me. I want to just do a little test here, because I kind of like the feel of that. Might actually call this like a second motif, and depending on the song, sometimes there will be more than one motif that I put in. Like on Rain Over Nowhere, which is, over a half hour long, I think I got like 8 of them or something, for just so many different parts in there. There's key changes and tempo changes and instrumentation changes. It's just all over the freaking place. And I'm really, really liking the way that song is coming out. I'm very pleased with it. I'm just going to put a little... So here, sometimes, like I said earlier, I will just, do a practice, and I won't record it and kind of treat it more like I'm in an analog studio. But this is where I'm definitely going to take advantage of the concept that we have with the digital recording. I can just do a test and then listen to it, and that's freaking awesome. Let's hit this and see what happens. That was kind of all right there. I want to hear that. Might be a keeper. I feel like there was a few places I had some sour notes, but let's listen to this. Keep that. I'm gonna, what I do a lot of times with these, I'll go out and, go for like a 5-6 mile run or a walk and just listen to the album. And sometimes I'll be doing that. And if I hear something that really takes me out of the realm that my ears should be in, I'll be like, okay, I got to redo that. But this one, I'm gonna call a tentative yes on this. I'm not convinced I'm gonna keep it, but it ain't bad. I didn't think it was gonna be as good as I feel about it now. So that's kind of cool. So then I really will only just have this one other. I know I said I was going to stop the stream, but I've got a guitar, and sometimes I just keep going when there's a guitar, because guitars are freaking awesome. And you know what else is awesome? Other guitars. I know. And of course, pizza's awesome. This was Sarah's idea last night. She was like, Randy, you should make a pizza for me. I'm like, yeah, I'm down. What do you want? Because she has a lot of dietary restrictions, so she can't have A lot of the spices, tomatoes are no good, so we can't do like standard sauce. And pepperoni, she can't eat that. So there's a lot of stuff. And so we did Canadian bacon and pears. And it was awesome. It was so good. I know some people are like Canadian bacon and pineapple. Pineapple's just wrong. You can't put pineapple on pizza. I'm fine with pineapple, but Canadian bacon and pears is a great combo. And then for the sauce, we used hazelnut oil and a bit of salt, garlic powder, and anise seeds. And just a few anise seeds, so you get this licorice taste every once in a while. Oh, it was freaking delicious. I used my my beer batter crust, homemade beer batter crust, with all that on it, some jack cheese. It was rocking. It was a great pizza. I was really pleased with the way that came. I was going to take a picture and put it on the Discord, but it got done and I sliced it up and we just started eating it right away, and I didn't think to take a picture of it until this morning, and now it's all gone. So there's that. So yeah, that was good stuff. So definitely, if you get a chance to try out a pizza with Canadian bacon and pears, do it. It is worth it. Okay, let's just blast a little solo into this. This is only 8, so basically half the length. Let's try this out. That might be all right. I'm gonna keep that. That's not bad. That's 3 songs down tonight. Of course, I still have lead guitars for Rain Over Nowhere, which is, even though I'm probably more than halfway done with those solos, it still is a 33-minute song. So there's a bit left on that. And then I got one other slow song on here, The Twofold Path. I'll do that later on. But I'm pretty pleased with where this has gotten to today. I feel like we got some pretty cool solos in here. As I said, I may, after I go out and give it a listen, out on a walk or whatever, I might choose to redo any of these. But overall, not too bad. I believe I'm going to really enjoy this album. And that's something that I feel the artists should enjoy their own work. And not out of arrogance, everything I do is great. I certainly hope that I don't come across as that. I try to be have a fair whack of humility in my personality. But just, based on, if you're making a piece of art and you don't like it, you're less likely, if you don't believe in the art that you are creating, your book, your script, your song, your poem, your sculpture, your drawing, your painting, whatever it might be, if you don't believe in it, it's going to be very hard for other people to get behind it. I think that's true. So I think that you should be a fan of your own work within, hopefully reasonable standards of human humility. Whether or not I actually accomplished that, I probably am not the right person to say, but I do enjoy listening to my own work. In fact, I was out on a walk the other day. I've got all 66 of my current albums in my phone, and I just took my collection and put it on random play. And I was like, oh. And then when the song Freaking Space Monkeys came on, that's off of my 44th album. The album is titled Schrodinger's Screwdriver. I was like, freaking Space Monkeys. I'm really pleased with the way that one came out. That's one of the few songs I have that's in an alternate tuning. And for the most part, I'm a standard tuned guitar. That one was in drop D. I've done a few songs in drop D. It's not something I do commonly, but it's just, sometimes it's really appropriate. And that song came out like, oh man, yeah, I really dig this piece. So yeah, I do enjoy listening to my own music, and so I'll go check this stuff out, and hopefully I will be reasonably pleased with what I've done. But I feel like this is going to be an album that's going to hit my ears pretty well, and particularly Rain Over Nowhere, that currently I'm the only person who knows what that song is like. I've been fairly cautious. I think I've shown one page of the sheet music like once on stream, and I think I once accidentally played like a half a second of it. But generally with my songs that are dedicated to someone, I typically want those to not be made public at all until it's unleashed. One of the exceptions to that, like a month or so back, I was doing a composition stream. I was working on Asemic Writings Part 4, which that album is just one song. And so obviously that song is going to be dedicated to someone, and I still did that publicly. But there's no other songs on that album to work with, so kind of an exception. The person to whom the 68th the installment 4 of Asemic Writings, that person does not yet know that they are having that song dedicated to them. I am keeping that under wraps, even from the person in question. Won't even reveal a gender on that individual. I know who the next 3 Asemic Writings will be dedicated to. They do not. Those people to whom it will be dedicated do not know that. I'm just kind of waxing philosophical here at this point, so I think it's time for me to get some food, dude, because I'm hungry, and I feel like eating may help with that scenario. That could just be some weird thing of mine, who knows, but I'm going to give it a shot. Nonetheless, wherever you're tuning in from, again, thank you very much for being here. From any of the websites, glad that you came in. I'm totally bummed about LiveSpace shutting down. That is a bit of a bummer, but I can't change that. So yeah, two of the websites I've been streaming to have shut down recently. Nono, which was, I believe, a Chinese website, is just gone. I can find no information on it. LiveSpace, which was a fairly new one, unfortunately didn't work out for financial reasons. I think that's very unfortunate. I'm going to contact Todd. He's one of the founders of it, and just see if he and I have communicated a bit. Just give him my condolences, basically. Because they really, the people who were working on it really went for it hard and just did a great job. But it's a very tough place to be able to succeed, because it's so competitive, and working against YouTube streaming and Twitch is really, really difficult. And now Kick has become very big, so I feel for him. But yes, this is the Mad Poet signing off. Again, thank you all very much for being here. Until the next time, we'll see you on the other side.